Hi friends! We're going to start off our makeup with our eyebrows today. The goal is to give them a very rounded old Hollywood shape. I take a very thin angled brush and I just fill mine in. I keep my eyebrows very thin, so you guys probably don't have to do as much as I do to give them a good shape. But basically go ahead and fill in any sparse areas, and then I'm giving them a more rounded look both on the top and in the arch of the eyebrow. And once you've done that, we're going to use some full coverage concealer to really clean up underneath and give it more of a curved shape. Once you have this shape, go ahead and blend the concealer down farther onto the eyelid. For the top of the eyebrow, I do the exact same process, but I use foundation so that it'll blend into the forehead a little better. Once you have that carved out, go ahead and blend it up into the forehead. If you wear primer, go ahead and put that on now, and then we're going to move on to foundation. I would prefer if you use a full coverage foundation, and we're going to go ahead and apply it all over the face. Once you have your foundation on, I go ahead and press the powder into the areas where I want the foundation to stay the most. So for me, that's my T-zone, which is forehead, nose, down to your chin, and then the under eye cheekbone area. And then I use a regular pressed powder in all the other areas. You can powder your face however you like. I just feel like this helps the makeup to stay longer. Now we're going to move on to contour. And I contour my forehead and my cheekbone area and my nose and jawline. You can contour whatever areas you would like. I do suggest at least the forehead and the hollows of the cheeks. That way we can add some warmth back into the face. Moving on to blush, you want to put a decent amount of blush, not too much, but at least enough to be seen from the stands. Now I take my brush and I dip it into some powder, and I'm just going to clean up that blush and contour just to make sure it stays where I want it in the hollows of that cheek area and on the cheekbone. You want to make sure the blush and contour doesn't travel too far down the face. Moving on to highlight, I put my highlight on my forehead, my nose, my upper lip, chin, and cheekbones. You can place yours wherever you prefer. And here is Miss Luna. Alright, moving on to the eyes, I'm grabbing this bright white and I'm placing it on the brow bone. I'm also using a flat brush to really pack that pigment. Using a more fluffy brush, I'm going in with this light gray and I'm placing it in the crease of my eyelid using this rounded motion you see here. This will be a halo eye, so you want to start moving it in rounded shapes. Now I'm going in with this medium gray with the same brush. And I'm just adding some dimension in the crease. I'm putting it in the exact same place. It just makes the gray a little bit darker. Now I'm grabbing a smaller brush and moving on to an even darker shade of gray. And I'm going to put this on the inner and outer corner of my eyelid only, leaving the center of the eyelid blank. This is the outer corner. And then you'll see me connect them here through the crease of the eye. So we're still leaving the center of the eyelid empty. You can see here that half circle shape is really starting to form. Now we're going to use a very flat brush in our concealer, and we're going to cut the center of the eye with concealer. You want to make sure that when you place the concealer, it's in a rounded shape at the top of the eyelid. I'm also placing the concealer above the crease. That way, when I'm looking up, you can still see the concealer. And then we're going to dry that down with this white eyeshadow. Now I'm grabbing an even smaller brush and this very dark shade of gray, and I'm applying that to the inner and outer corner again. Don't use too much of this shade. It should be a gradient from white to medium gray to dark gray, not just black to white. And then connect it by drawing the tiniest little half circle line above the concealer, like you just saw me do there. And then I'm taking a brush with no product and just blending them all three together. Now I go in with this silver, and I just use my finger to put it right on the center of the eyelid. Going back in with this tiny brush and this light gray, and that's the only shadow I put on the lower lash line. Go ahead and apply your lashes or mascara. If you're comfortable with it, I would go ahead and put on false lashes. I'm sure Byron's gonna want them. And lots of setting spray. I'm sure Byron will elaborate on this a little more, but he did say he wanted a beauty mark. I feel like this is a very old Hollywood Marilyn Monroe placement to be right above the lip. A good place is also around the eye area, I believe. Now we're gonna move on to what I think makes the look very old Hollywood. We're gonna do a very rounded lip shape. Think like Betty Boop rounded. So I'm using eyeshadow here because I don't have my lip liner right now, but you're gonna be using your lip liner, and I'm placing it about a third of the way in from my top lip. I'm not putting product on my entire top lip. You can see it more with the red. That gives it that small rounded shape. You want to make sure you also have a very defined Cupid's bow. So your top lip should almost look like the top of a heart. And just fill in the bottom lip like you always would. I think this step will be important, really, for the top lip especially, but now I just go in with a flat brush and concealer and clean up the lip shape a little bit. I just conceal around and blend out. And here you can see I'm cutting off any excess lipstick to really give that curved shape on the top. And once you have that, you're all done. There you go. Have a good show.